Welcome to the Supernatural Japan podcast, the podcast where folklore, urban legends, and ghostly tales come to life. I'm your host, Kevin O'Shea, and tonight we step into the eerie world of Japanese horror. Imagine you're walking alone at night. The streets are empty. The only sound is your own footsteps. But then you hear it. A scraping noise, growing faster and faster. You turn only to see her, a woman. No, half a woman, dragging herself toward you impossibly fast. This is the legend of Teke Teke. The story of Teke Teke has haunted Japan for decades. The name comes from the horrifying sound she makes as she moves. Some say she was once a young woman, maybe a schoolgirl, who suffered a gruesome accident. One night, she fell onto the train tracks and was cut in half by an oncoming train. The impact was so violent that her lower body was completely severed, leaving only her upper torso behind. But death wasn't the end. They say her spirit rose full of rage and pain, transforming into Teke Teke, a ghost that moves with unnatural speed, dragging her upper body with her hands, hunting for victims to share in her fate. If she catches you, she slices you in half, just like her. What might an encounter with Teke Teke be like? Well, let's listen to a little story that might shed a frightening light on an experience with Teke Teke. Kenji sighed as he checked his phone. 11:48 p.m. He had just missed the last train by minutes. Now, he had to walk home alone through the dimly lit streets of Sapporo. The cold autumn air bit his skin as he zipped up his jacket, quickening his pace. The streets were unusually quiet, save for the occasional flickering of street lamps. A shortcut through an old pedestrian overpass near the train station would save him 10 minutes. Kenji hesitated, recalling the stories his classmates whispered about this place. They say a girl died here, cut in half by a train. At night she crawls around looking for her missing legs. Kenji shook his head, dismissing the thought. Ghosts weren't real. He reached the overpass, its rusted railing groaning in the wind. The silence was deafening, and his own footsteps felt unnaturally loud against the cracked pavement. Halfway across, he heard it. Tap, tap, scratch. A slow dragging sound, like nails scraping against concrete. Kenji froze, his breath caught in his throat. The noise grew closer, faster. A sudden gust of wind sent a chill down his spine. He turned his head slightly, just enough to see a figure at the far end of the overpass. A girl. She was crouched low, her hands on the ground. Her long, unkept black hair obscured her face. Something was wrong. And then she moved. Teke, 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 Teke. Kenji's heart stopped as she raced towards him with her hands, her torso lifting and falling like a broken puppet. She was fast, too fast. Panic surged through him, and he bolted. His legs burned as he sprinted down the stairs, barely keeping balance. He could still hear that terrible sound getting closer. Teke, 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 Teke. His vision blurred with fear. But up ahead, a vending machine. A bright glow of its fluorescent lights felt like a beacon of safety. He stumbled towards it, hoping against hope that light could repel whatever was chasing him. Then silence. Kenji turned, gasping for breath. Nothing. The overpass was empty. The wind whispered through the metal bars, but the girl was gone. Had he imagined it? Had his mind played a cruel trick on him? Relief washed over him. He let out a nervous laugh, hands trembling as he reached into his pocket for some coins. A can of warm coffee would settle his nerves. A drop of liquid fell on his hand. Kenji frowned and wiped it off. Thick, sticky, red. His blood ran cold. Teke, 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 Teke. The sound came from above. Before he could react, she dropped from the railing above him, landing on his shoulders, her face inches from his. Pale, twisted lips stretched into a horrific grin. Kenji never even had time to scream. The next morning, police found a body near the station. Or rather, half of one. The legend of Teke Teke isn't just a ghost story. It's a warning. A reminder to be cautious near train tracks, to avoid traveling alone at night, and perhaps to respect spirits that still linger. Interestingly, Teke Teke shares similarities with another urban legend, Kashima Reiko, a ghost who lost her legs in a train accident. She appears in bathrooms asking victims, "Where are my legs?" Answer wrong, and she takes yours. But Teke Teke isn't just a story to scare children. Reports of sightings continue to this day. Some believe that even hearing her story can summon her. So, if you're walking alone at night and you hear scraping behind you, run and pray she doesn't catch you. And that's all for tonight's episode of Supernatural Japan. Do you believe in Teke Teke? Have you ever experienced something supernatural? Send us your stories at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. And you can follow us on social media for more haunted tales. So absolutely, please follow this podcast on social media. Come on over to Instagram at Supernatural Japan. Very active on Instagram, posting several times a week. If you want to see pictures that are associated, that go along with each episode of this podcast, you want to see what Teke Teke looks like, go over to the Instagram at Supernatural Japan. Give us a follow, please. Click that little heart button whenever I make a post. And help our social media grow by sharing the podcast and sharing the social media. I'm very active on Blue Sky and on X a little bit, at Mad for Maple. You can always email the podcast at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page. All those links are in the show notes. So please check us out, follow us, help us grow by sharing this podcast. That's right. So if you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and share it with your bravest friends. But be careful. The more you talk about Teke Teke, the more likely she is to find you. Goodbye.